Ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you very much for your attention, and now we invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the
Welcome to our top travel destinations. I am your host, Kevin Flanagan. I have been editor of the weekly travel news column in the Sunday Independent and the Fine Wine and Food Guide, and I am here to use my decades of experience to help you know exactly where to stay, eat, drink, shop, and explore when visiting the world's top travel destinations. So sit back and enjoy the wonders of travel as we take off on our magical journey together. Welcome to Kevin's Top Travel Destination. This week I'm going to talk to you about how to avoid common travel scams, and I do this for one very good reason. I'm going to share a rather disturbing occasion when I was scammed right royally, and it left rather a scar. The setting is Rome. I've spent a week with a girlfriend there. We had a great time. We went to Vatican City. We bought lots of quite expensive presents, her and me, for people back home. I had completed a book and on my computer, and we were all ready to return to Dublin. We took our rental car to Avis, and this was in an area quite near to the Colosseum. We found an area to park the car. It wasn't actually the official Avis area, but there was no clear signage as to actually returning the car and handing the keys over. So we parked it and we went under this subterranean area to the actual Avis shop. We handed in the keys. They said, bring it down this area here, gave us a little map. We went back to the car. I went to open the boot to take something out of my luggage when I found that the boot was already open. And with a sense of foreboding, I lifted the boot lid and was faced with an empty boot. All the luggage had gone. All the presents had gone. All our money belts, personal bags with our passports had gone. We, dear listener, had been cleaned out, and I will never, ever forget the shock. And it turned out that this was a common scam. People, because there was no clear signage, and I think Avis were a little bit responsible here, parked their cars there. The people who, as the police told us later, were lying in wait. Most of the people who returned their cars took their luggage with them down to Avis and then got a taxi on to wherever they were going. We didn't. We were one of the smaller percentage of people who left their luggage in the car. They saw us disappear down this subterranean tunnel to find the Avis shop, and that gave them the requisite time to jimmy open the boot, to bring another car along, empty it out, and disappear. The shock was considerable. We had to go to the Rome police, who were helpful. We had to get temporary passports issued. We had to cancel our flights. We had no money. We had to go to find a new hotel. We had to somehow access funds. It was a real shock and horror. And it really did take the shine off what had been a really great holiday. And I'll never forget coming back to Dublin, and the impact and the shockwaves of that scam went on. I had to buy a new computer, and I wasn't that well off at the time, so that was a blow. It was back in the late 90s, and there was no backup. I had not had a hard drive to back it up, so I lost the book and all of that work and all my emails. I would really not wish this on anyone. And it was so interesting when we went to the police. They shared that this was a common scam, that this particular group of thieves lay in wait and were ready to take the more unfortunate holiday makers who happened to have left their luggage in the boot. They took everything. And it got me thinking, scams can really affect how a holiday goes. And from the moment you book a holiday all the way through to your return, the evidence and the research shows that scamming is alive and well. So I just wanted to share some of the bigger scams just to be careful and to look out for. I've gone and done my research, and the first one comes from a piece of research from Action Fraud UK that reported how travellers lose millions on the very first step in the holiday process, which is booking your holiday. The most frequent scams involved fake accommodation listings and flight deals, even bargain holidays that are actually bogus holidays. And in some cases, travellers only realise they've been duped when they arrive at their destination and find their accommodation doesn't actually exist. For example, last year a couple in the UK booked what they thought was a dream villa for their family holiday in Spain. They paid nearly 3,000 sterling, a sizable amount of money, through this scam website, which was posing as a legitimate vacation rental company. And when they arrived, it did not exist. So how do you avoid this particular scam? Well, I think one of the most obvious ways is to book through reputable platforms such as Booking.com. Or if you're going for accommodation, book directly with the hotel. Check the reviews on any site that you go to and confirm the contact details independently. Even Google them, the telephone number, the email address, and that will actually very quickly flush out any scammers. An additional layer of security is to only use secure credit cards when booking, because this can ensure that if you are scammed, you may have some reclaim through the credit card company. Another common scam, according to the Consumer Affairs, is the timeshare scam. Now, there's been quite a lot in the papers over the years of people losing money to fraudulent timeshare deals. These usually entice people in. There was a famous example of a Florida couple who invested over $20,000 in a Mexican timeshare a couple of years ago, and to find that when they arrived, their resort had no record of their purchase. The company that they paid into had vanished. So again, it's really important. Timesharing is a big part of the holiday world scene now. So you have to really do your research before investing and avoid making decisions under pressure, because once the scammers have your number for things like timescale and your contact details, they will very adept at high energy sale scamming presentations and the pressure to close a deal quickly before it runs out. There has also been quite a lot of scamming with fake airline and accommodation confirmation emails. The Federal Trade Commission, which is an important organizing body in the US, talks about travel-related scams. These send you out emails that look completely legitimate, confirming your airline ticket with Emirates or your accommodation with Airbnb. They ask for payment details to be confirmed. It's not actually the Emirates and it's not Airbnb. It is a phishing scam, and they take the payment details and they can empty your bank account. In 2019, there was this very famous, as you may have heard, where British Airways were quoted in these cancellation emails. The unsuspecting travellers, when contacted by British Airways, who they thought they were being genuinely contacted by, gave personal information which was then stolen. So how do you avoid these very clever holiday scams? Well, you really need to get again directly onto the airline or the hotel or the official website and double check. And the really important thing is be suspicious of any emails from bodies like British Airways or Airbnb that ask for additional personal or payment information. That should never happen. Be aware of that. It happens with banking scams all the time. Now, another huge one, which surprises me that it's still ongoing, But according to a 2017 report by Skyscanner, the huge website which deals in providing comparison of costs across the board, showed how many travelers to Southeast Asia, particularly areas like Bangkok, are ripped off when they arrive. They've been on long-haul flights, they may be a bit bleary-eyed when they arrive at the airport. They go out onto the departure lounge and are gobbled up by malicious taxi drivers, don't use the meter, they take them all over the place and demand in a very, very aggressive manner a fare. And because of the whole language barrier and the time difference and the newness of the occasion, people are regularly taken advantage of. So again, how do you avoid, if you are going to arrive at an airport? Well, there is always a genuine taxi firm. I've been to Thailand. Most years I use it as a hub to get in and out of different parts of Asia. When you arrive at one particular, there's two big airports, you actually have to go down and take a ticket and wait in line, and they only use the proper taxis. Now, if you walk onto the apron outside, you're open to being actually taken literally for a ride. So sometimes just use your wits. And if you have been on a long haul flight, it's all the more important to use the official taxi services of the airport or use a ride hailing app that each country has, and you can pick up your SIM card when you arrive and you can log in directly using a genuine app. Now, absolutely extraordinary scam, which the Better Business Bureau reported over 380 million was lost just in the US alone last year because of fake vacation rentals. And these scams appear on legitimate sites such as Airbnb. In 2019, a family booked a luxury villa in France through a third-party platform like Airbnb. But when they arrived, they found that the property had never existed. The listing had been created by the scammers using images stolen from legitimate sites, using the legitimate details. So how do you avoid this scam, which is very nefarious, it has to be said? Well, you have to go on to the sites like Booking.com and Airbnb and double check the reviews, verify the reviews, double check the addresses, contact the host before you make your booking, and really just go that extra mile, because that is a very invidious scam, and it is successful with a lot of people. So it's current and it's ongoing. Now, once you get to your destination, there's obviously the restaurant overcharging scam. A TripAdvisor survey found that 30% of travelers recently had been overcharged in restaurants while traveling aboard. I can remember visiting Venice when I was young and it was green, still a student. I had a new love. We'd gone to Venice. We were staying near the Vivaldi church. And on the first night, I rather thought I'd impress my new girlfriend and take her out to this fish restaurant, only to find that a fifth of my budget was gobbled up in that one meal. It'd be over €250 in today's prices. And of course, when you're met with an angry restaurant owner who's demanding this, there's very little you feel you can do. It's a different language. You're embarrassed in front of your company. So it's a very easy scam. Rome has a particularly bad reputation, the areas and restaurants around the Colosseum. But it's across Europe and across the world. You just have to always look for the menu and the pricing beforehand. Double check. And again, look at the reviews before you go to that restaurant. Even standing outside now with phones, you can check your reviews. You can check the price of the meal. You double check with the person that's serving you. The scam in drink spiking has hit the news recently. The UK Foreign Office is now warning tourists who are visiting places like Barcelona and Prague. Recently, a group of British tourists in Barcelona had their drinks spiked, and when they were unconscious, they were robbed. So this is an extraordinary scam. The obvious answer to this is never leave your drinks unattended and never accept drinks from strangers unless you can see the drink being made. When you're in these foreign situations, there are other scams that I have personally come across. The friendship bracelet scam is a huge one. You're in a tourist area, a young person comes up and offers you a free bracelet or trinket. You may be beguiled by their smiles. They don't demand payment. They put it on your wrist. This happens a lot in places like Paris. In Sacré-Cœur recently, tourists were ripped off. Once the scammer has put the bracelet on you, they turn aggressive and they demand 10, 20, 50 euro and cause a scene until you pay. And of course, a lot of people will pay rather than call the police. Just working on the human sensibilities and weaknesses. One other scam that I encountered personally when I was outside the Vatican, where there were a lot of tourist shops. I was looking for one of those little Pieta statues, the recreation of the Michelangelo, and he gave it to me and dropped it just in front of me. And luckily, I was able to catch it just off the ground like a cricket cap. And he was going to charge me for dropping it, though he'd actually deliberately tried to break it in front of me. So again, these scams, just be aware. It's like the fake tour guides. There are a lot of these, the big places, whether you're in Egypt or whether you're in the Colosseum in Rome or whether you're in Venice. Guides will come up to you. They'll offer to take you on a tour. Undoubtedly, you'll spend most of the time in a particular shop or market area where they're getting a cut from taking you around. I can remember bumping into a couple who'd been in Egypt, who'd hired a local guide, who'd promised them the authentic experience of the pyramids. They spent hours in an overpriced souvenir shop and then were charged double the agreed rate. And again, it was this aggression. How to avoid it? Book through your hotel or book online where you can check the credentials, you can prepay by credit cards, and you can see the reviews. So I think that gives you a sense of how vulnerable we are. I think it's all about our approach when we're on holidays. Our defenses are down, and there's good reason they're down because you're having a well-earned break. But the people on the ground, like those gentlemen who were waiting for myself and my friend to park our car, they saw we didn't take our luggage out, and they knew we were going to be away for at least 10 minutes, and they struck. And of course, when we're away, our defenses are down. We are not in the usual day-to-day realm of being suspicious and being on guard. We are enjoying ourselves in places like the Eternal City and the pyramids. And it's unfortunate that we do have to still be aware, because that I can still remember the shock of opening the boot and finding it empty and realizing in a second that the computer had gone, the passport had gone, the credit cards had gone, everything had gone. And that really is something we could all do without. So be aware, keep your eyes open, and you will enjoy your holiday without being scammed.